Hey guys, tonight we slip into a muddy village of the Shang dynasty around 1600 BC, where the air smells of damp earth and wood smoke, and the first kettle is about to bubble into existence. Picture yourself standing on a dirt path in ancient China near the Yellow River, where the morning mist clings to your skin like a damp blanket. You hear the clink of clay pots, the chatter of villagers bartering millet, and the soft gurgle of the river nearby. Life here is all about survival, cooking, eating, staying warm, but boiling water, that's a whole ordeal. If you think waiting for your microwave to heat leftovers is torture, try scooping river water into a flimsy bowl over an open fire without scalding yourself. Good luck, you probably won't survive this without a few burns. So, before you get comfortable, take a moment to like the video and subscribe, but only if you genuinely enjoy what I do here. Drop a comment with your location and local time. I'd love to know where you're drifting off from tonight. Now, dim the lights, maybe turn on a fan for that soft background hum, and let's ease into tonight's journey together. You're standing in this Shang Dynasty village, where mud houses with thatched roofs cluster like shy turtles. The year is roughly 1600 BC, and the air feels alive with the rhythm of early civilization. The Yellow River, glinting under the pale sun, is the heartbeat of this place, feeding crops and carrying trade. You see women hauling water in heavy clay jars, their arms straining under the weight. Cooking is no small feat here. Villagers balance pots over crackling fires, hoping the flames don't tip their precious water into the dirt. You spot a potter, let's call him Wei, because nameless ancient craftsman doesn't have the same ring. Wei's hands are caked in clay, his face lined with focus as he kneels by a pile of wet earth. He's not just shaping another bowl or jar, he's got a spark of an idea that's about to change how these folks sip their tea. This is where the Kettle story begins. Historians point to China's Shang dynasty around 1600 BC as the birthplace of the first ceramic kettles. Archaeological digs have uncovered spouted clay vessels, some with scorch marks, showing they were used to boil water over fires. These weren't just shiny electric kettles, but they were a game changer for cooking and drinking. Here's a quirky tidbit. Some early kettles were buried with their owners, as if you'd need a hot cuppa in the afterlife. Talk about priorities. Historians still argue whether these spouted pots were mainly for boiling water or for brewing early herbal concoctions, maybe the world's first tea. Either way, you're here, watching Wei knead his clay, his fingers moving with the kind of patience you wish you had during a slow Wi-Fi day. You follow Wei to his workshop, a low-roofed shelter smelling of damp clay and charred wood. Piles of river mud sit in heaps, and you see tools carved from bone and wood scattered around. Wei's not working alone. His wife is nearby, grinding millet, her pestle thumping like a steady heartbeat. You can feel the weight of their daily grind. No faucets, no stoves, just fire and grit. Boiling water is a hassle. Most villagers use wide-mouthed jars that spill easily or crack under heat. You wince as you see a young boy burn his hand trying to steady a wobbly pot over the flames. Wei notices too, muttering something under his breath, probably the ancient equivalent of "this is ridiculous." He's tired of watching water slosh into the fire, tired of the smoke and mess. You lean closer, sensing he's onto something bigger than another cooking pot. The village hums around you. You hear a dog barking, kids laughing as they chase a stray chicken, and the distant clatter of a cart. Life here is simple but relentless. Every task takes muscle and time. You smirk thinking how you'd trade your coffee maker for a cold drink right now, but these folks don't even have a proper way to boil water yet. Wei's hands move steadily, shaping a lump of clay on a wooden board. He's not rushing, nobody here is. The sun climbs higher, casting shadows that dance across the mud walls. You notice the river again, its water shimmering like a promise of something better. Wei's eyes flick towards it, maybe thinking about how water is life, but also a pain to heat. He starts pinching the clay into a new shape, something with a curve and a spout. You're not sure what it is yet, but you're hooked. As the day softens into afternoon, the village settles into a quieter rhythm. You find a shady spot under a thatched roof, the warm earth beneath you, and watch Wei work. The clay in his hands is starting to look less like a lump and more like something purposeful. You can almost smell the potential, like the first whiff of tea brewing. This potter, with his steady hands and stubborn clay, is about to fire up an idea that'll warm homes for centuries. You sink into the moment, the sounds of the village fading into a gentle hum, ready to see Wei's work take you next. You're still in this Shang Dynasty village, the air thick with the scent of wet clay and smoldering fires. The sun hangs low now, painting the mud houses in hues of gold and amber. You can hear the steady rhythm of life around you. Women chatting as they weave baskets, men hauling bundles of millet, and the occasional splash of someone dipping a jar into the yellow river. But your eyes are fixed on Wei, the potter, who's knee-deep in his work, shaping clay like it's a puzzle only he can solve. You feel the weight of this moment, the quiet hum of a world where boiling water is a daily battle. Nobody here has a kettle yet, and you're starting to realize just how much of a hassle that is. You shift your weight on the packed earth, wishing for a comfy chair, but you're too curious about Wei's next move to care much. Life in 1600 BC isn't exactly a breeze. You see villagers struggling to heat water for cooking or drinking, and it's a messy affair. Most use wide, shallow clay pots, balanced precariously over open fires. The flames lick at the sides, blackening the clay, and half the time the water spills or evaporates before it's hot. You watch a woman nearby, her face creased with frustration as she tries to steady a pot with a stick. It tips, sending a hiss of steam into the air, and you wince. Bet she wishes for a curry egg right about now, you mutter, smirking at the thought. But seriously, without a proper vessel, boiling water is slow, wasteful, and sometimes dangerous. You notice kids staying clear of the fires, probably because they've seen one too many burns. Even drinking water isn't safe. River water can carry sickness, and boiling it is the only way to make it clean. But nobody's got a good system for that yet. This struggle is the backdrop of Wei's world. The mainstream historical fact here is that ceramic pots for boiling water emerged in China during the Shang Dynasty, around 1600 BC. Archaeologists have found clay vessels with narrow bases and thick walls, designed to withstand heat in sites along the Yellow River. These were the ancestors of the kettle, used for everything from cooking porridge to brewing herbs. But here's a quirky tidbit. Some Shang pots were shaped like animals, with spouts resembling bird beaks or ox noses. Imagine serving tea from a clay cow snout. Fancy, right? Historians still argue whether these early pots were primarily for boiling water or for ritual offerings, like heating wine for ancestral ceremonies. Whatever the case, you're watching Wei wrestle with the same problem: how to make a pot that doesn't spill, crack, or waste half the fire's heat. You edge closer to Wei's workshop, the ground cool under your feet. He's surrounded by clay lumps, some already shaped into bowls or jars, drying in the sun. You smell the earthy tang of wet mud mixed with the faint smoke from a nearby fire. Wei's muttering again, probably cursing the flimsy pots everyone's stuck with. You can relate. Nothing's worse than a tool that fails you when you need it most. He picks up a fresh lump of clay, slapping it onto his wooden board with a satisfying thwack. You notice his hands, rough and stained, moving with a kind of quiet confidence. He's not just throwing clay together, he's thinking, experimenting. You wonder if he's got a wife nagging him to hurry up with dinner, or if he's just fed up with watching water slosh into the dirt. Either way, his focus is magnetic. The village around you keeps its steady pulse. You hear a man singing softly as he sharpens a bronze tool, the sound blending with the crackle of fires. A group of kids nearby are playing with sticks, pretending they're warriors, and you chuckle, thinking how some things never change. But change is coming, and it's sitting right in front of you in Wei's clay-covered hands. Boiling water isn't just about cooking or drinking, it's about survival. You see a woman pouring water into a cracked pot, only to watch it leak out before it even heats. She sighs, and you feel her exhaustion. Wei sees it too. his eyes narrowing as he kneads the clay. You're starting to get why this kettle thing matters. It's not just a pot, it's a way to make life a little less grueling. You settle back against the mud wall, the warmth of the day seeping into your bones. Way's hands keep moving, shaping the clay into something new. You can't quite tell what it is yet, but there's a hint of a curve, maybe the start of a spout. You smirk, imagining how you'd probably burn your hand trying to use one of those flimsy pots yourself. No thanks, I'll stick to my electric kettle, you whisper, but you're hooked on Way's process. The river glints in the distance, its waters promising life but demanding effort to harness. Way's clay is soft, pliable, but you sense it's about to become something solid, something that'll hold heat and hope. You lean forward, the village's sounds fading into a gentle hum, ready to see what Way's hands will reveal next. You're still crouched in the shade of Way's workshop, the Shang Dynasty village humming around you like a living, breathing thing. The sun's climbing higher, warming the clay-scented air, and you can feel the grit of the earth beneath your sandals. Way's hands are deep in his work, molding a lump of clay with a focus that makes you forget your own world for a moment. The yellow river sparkles in the distance, its waters a constant reminder of life's flow and the challenges it brings. You hear the crackle of a nearby fire, the soft clink of pots, and a child's laugh cutting through the morning. Way's not just shaping clay, he's chasing an idea, something to solve the village's water-boiling woes. You lean closer, catching the faint whiff of damp mud, wondering if he even knows he's about to make history. Way's hands move with purpose now, pinching and smoothing the clay into a shape that's starting to look different. It's not a wide-mouthed jar or a shallow bowl like the ones scattered around his workshop. You see the beginnings of a rounded body, a narrower base, and wait, is that a spout forming? You smirk, thinking how your barista would lose it without a proper kettle for your morning latte. But here, in 1600 BC, Way's crafting something revolutionary. He's pressing the clay, his fingers leaving soft ridges, and you can almost feel the cool, slick surface under your own hands. The mainstream historical fact is clear. Ceramic kettles with spouts emerged in the Shang Dynasty around 1600 BC, designed for boiling water and cooking. Archaeologists have dug up these vessels, some with blackened bases from fire, proving they were built to handle heat. They weren't fancy, but they were a leap forward from the leaky, unstable pots of the past. Here's a quirky tidbit. Some Shang kettles had tiny legs, like tripods, to sit steady over fires. Picture a clay pot waddling like a chubby little dinosaur. Adorable, right? Historians still argue whether these spouted kettles were mainly for daily use, like boiling water for millet porridge, or for special rituals, like heating rice wine for offerings to ancestors. Either way, you're watching Wei shape this clay with a kind of stubborn genius. He's not following a manual, no Pinterest boards for ancient potters. He's figuring it out as he goes, driven by the frustration of watching water spill or pots crack. You notice a bead of sweat on his brow, his eyes squinting as he tweaks the spout's angle. It's like he's sculpting a solution, not just a pot. You glance around the workshop, where drying clay jars line the walls like silent spectators. The air's thick with the earthy smell of mud and the faint char of burnt wood from a fire pit nearby. Way's wife steps in, carrying a basket of reeds, and you catch her eye roll as she sees Way still hunched over his clay. Bet she's thinking, dinner's not gonna cook itself, you chuckle to yourself. But Way's too focused to notice. He's smoothing the kettle's body now, making it rounder, thicker, so it can hold heat without bursting. You can almost hear his brain ticking, calculating how to keep the water in and the fire out. You've tried cooking before, maybe burn a pizza or two, so you get the struggle of getting heat just right. Way's fighting the same battle, but with clay and open flames. The village keeps its rhythm around you. You hear a man shouting to herd his goats, the bleats mixing with the clatter of a cart rolling by. Probably one of those early wheeled ones, like that Sumerian cart you heard about once. You grin, thinking how wheels and kettles are both unsung heroes of ancient life. No wheels, no trade, no tea, you muse, wishing you had a hot drink right now. The river's gurgle pulls your attention, its water shimmering under the midday sun. That water's the key to everything here. Cooking, drinking, surviving, but it's useless if you can't heat it safely. Wei's kettle, still just a lump of clay, is starting to look like the answer. You watch him carve a small spout, his fingers careful, almost tender, like he's coaxing the clay to life. As the day stretches on, you settle into the workshop's rhythm, the sounds of the village blending into a soothing hum. Wei's hands keep moving, shaping the spout with precision. You can almost smell the steam that'll rise from this kettle someday, the promise of warm tea or porridge. You're hooked on this moment, this potter's quiet determination to make life a little easier. The clay's taking shape now, its curves smooth and purposeful. You lean back, the warmth of the mud against your shoulders, and let the village's sounds wash over you. Fires crackling, voices murmuring, the river flowing. Wei's not done yet, but you can feel something big coming, something out of warm hands and homes for centuries. You're still in Wei's workshop, the Shang Dynasty village alive around you, its sounds weaving a tapestry of crackling fires and distant laughter. The afternoon sun filters through the thatched roof, casting dappled shadows on the clay-strewn floor. You smell the earthy tang of wet mud mixed with the faint sweetness of millet cooking nearby. Wei's hands, caked with clay, are now fully committed to his creation, a rounded vessel with a distinct spout perched like a proud bird on his wooden board. You can almost feel the weight of the clay, cool and slick, as he smooths its curves. This isn't just another pot, it's the kettle's first breath, ready to bring steaming water to a family's table. You shift against the mud wall, wishing you had a cushion, but you're too caught up in Wei's work to care. The kettle's moment has arrived. Wei's finished shaping the body, its walls thick enough to withstand fire, its base narrow to sit snugly over flames. The spout, short and sturdy, juts out like it's ready to pour out answers to the village's boiling woes. You watch him press a final ridge around the rim, his fingers moving with a rhythm that's almost hypnotic. The mainstream historical fact is undeniable. Around 1600 BC, Shang Dynasty potters crafted ceramic kettles with spouts, perfect for boiling water and cooking. Excavations in Henan province have uncovered these vessels, their blackened bases proof of their dance with fire. They were the workhorses of ancient kitchens, turning river water into safe drinks or hearty meals. You imagine Wei's kettle steaming with millet porridge, its aroma filling a home. But here's a quirky tidbit. Some Shan kettles were etched with swirling patterns, like little doodles from a potter with too much time on his hands. Maybe Wei's adding a flourish to his kettle, thinking it'll impress his neighbors, or at least his wife. Historians still argue whether these designs were just for show or held spiritual meaning, like symbols to ward off bad spirits during cooking. Whatever the reason, you're mesmerized by Wei's focus. He's not just making a tool, he's crafting comfort. You see him set the kettle aside to dry, its clay form glowing in the sunlight like a promise. You smirk, thinking how your electric kettle would probably short-circuit in this muddy village. Good luck plugging that in here, you mutter, chuckling at the thought. You glance outside, where the village pulses with life. A woman carries a basket of greens, her steps slow under the weight. Nearby, a man stokes a fire, trying to heat a wobbly pot that's more bowl than kettle. Water sloshes out, hissing as it hits the flames, and you wince. "Been there, buddy," you whisper, remembering your own kitchen disasters. Boiling water here isn't just a chore, it's a gamble. The pots crack, the water spills, and the fire's heat is as likely to burn you as it is to cook anything. Wei's kettle, still drying in the sun, is about to change that. You imagine a family gathered around it, sipping warm water or tea, their faces lit by firelight. It's a small thing, but in this world, small things are huge. The workshop feels like a cocoon of creation. You hear Wei's wife humming softly as she sorts reeds, her voice blending with the crackle of a fire pit nearby. You catch a glimpse of kids outside, tossing a leather ball, their shouts fading into the village's hum. You grin, thinking how kids today would probably trade their tablets for a chance to play in this dirt. Wei's kettle is almost ready for its first fire, but it needs to dry and harden. He covers it with a damp cloth, protecting it from the sun's harsh rays. You feel the care in his movements, like he's tucking in a child. This kettle isn't just clay, it's a solution, a way to make evenings warmer, safer, more comforting. You settle deeper into the workshop shade, the air cooling as the sun begins its descent. The river's gurgle in the distance feels like a lullaby, steady and soothing. You can almost taste the tea that Wei's kettle will brew, its steam curling into the air like a quiet victory. You're hooked on this moment, the birth of something so simple yet so vital. Wei steps back, wiping his hands on a rag, and you catch a flicker of pride in his eyes. He knows this kettle is special, even if he can't imagine it'll spark a legacy stretching across millennia. You lean forward, the village's sound softening into a gentle drone, ready to see this kettle meet the fire. You're still nestled in the heart of Wei's Shang Dynasty village, the late afternoon sun casting long shadows across the mud brick houses. The air carries the warm, earthy scent of clay drying in the breeze, mingled with the faint smokiness of fire simmering nearby. You hear the rhythmic clink of a potter's tools and the soft murmur of villagers winding down their day. Wei's kettle, now a smooth, spouted vessel, sits proudly in his workshop, its clay hardening under a damp cloth. You can almost feel its weight, the promise of steam it holds. Your back's a bit stiff from leaning against the mud wall, but you're too invested to move. Wei's creation is about to meet fire, and you're ready to see it transform this village's evenings. The moment has come for Wei to test his kettle. He carefully lifts the cloth, revealing the vessel's curves, its spout gleaming faintly in the fading light. You watch him carry it to a small fire pit outside, where embers glow like tiny stars. He sets the kettle on a tripod of stones, its tripod legs, remember those quirky dino-like feet, steadying it over the flames. You hear the soft crackle as he adds kindling, the fire flaring to life. Wei pours water from a clay jar into the kettle, the liquid glugging softly. You lean closer, catching the fresh scent of river water, and feel the anticipation in the air. The mainstream historical fact is solid. Shang Dynasty kettles, crafted around 1600 BC, were used to boil water for drinking and cooking, as shown by charred ceramic vessels found in archaeological digs. These kettles made water safer and meals warmer, a quiet revolution in daily life. Here's a quirky tidbit. Some Shang households use kettles to brew early teas, not just plain water. Imagine Wei sipping a bitter herbal concoction, thinking he's invented the ultimate hipster drink. Historians still argue whether these kettles were primarily for practical cooking or for ceremonial brewing, like preparing offerings for ancestors. Either way, you're watching Wei's kettle start to steam, its spout puffing like a tiny dragon. The fire's heat licks the clay, and you hold your breath, hoping it doesn't crack. Wei's wife, standing nearby, folds her arms, probably thinking, if this works, maybe he'll finally help with the millet. You chuckle, picturing your own kitchen experiments. Burnt toast, anyone? And admire Wei's nerve to try something new. The village settles into evening, its sounds soften into a gentle hum. You see families gathering around fires, their faces lit by flickering light. A woman stirs a pot of porridge, her kids tugging at her skirt, hungry for dinner. You smell the nutty aroma of millet, and your stomach rumbles, reminding you how far you are from your fridge. Wei's kettle is the star now, its steam curling into the twilight. You imagine the family sitting inside his mud house, sipping warm water or tea, their hands cradled around clay cups. It's a simple scene, but it feels profound, like the first time you nailed a recipe and felt like a chef. The kettle's glow isn't just light, it's comfort, safety, a moment of rest in a world that's all about survival. You glance at the yellow river, its waters now dark under the evening sky, reflecting the first stars. The river's been the village's lifeline, but Wei's kettle is making it more than just a source, it's turning water into warmth. You hear a neighbor call out, curious about the steaming vessel, and Wei grins, a rare flash of pride. Bet he's thinking he's the village's new celebrity chef, you muse, smirking. The kettle's success is spreading, drawing eyes from across the fire-lit dirt paths.
You see a young boy peek over, his eyes wide, probably dreaming a sneak a sip. The scene feels alive, like you're part of something bigger than one potter's experiment. Way's kettle is a spark, a small but mighty shift in how this village lives. As night creeps in, you settle back, the cool earth beneath you a quiet anchor. The fire under Way's kettle crackles, its warmth brushing your skin. You can almost taste the tea it'll brew, the herbal tang lingering in the air. You're hooked on this moment, the birth of a tool that's more than clay. It's a bridge to easier days. Way tends the fire, his silhouette sharp against the flames, and you feel the weight of his work settling into history. The village's sounds fade into a soothing drone, fires popping, voices whispering, the river's gentle flow. You're ready to see where this kettle steam will carry you next, its promise glowing brighter than the stars above.
You're still in the Shang Dynasty village, the night now wrapping the mud houses in a cool, starry blanket. The fire under Way's kettle crackles softly, its glow painting the workshop in warm flickers. You smell the faint steam rising from the spouted vessel, a mix of river water and the earthy tang of heated clay. The village has quieted, with only the murmur of voices and the occasional bleat of a goat drifting through the air. Way's silhouette moves against the firelight, his hand steady as he checks the kettle's progress. You're slouched against the mud wall, the ground cool beneath you, and though you're tempted to stretch your legs, the scene before you is too captivating. The kettle's steam curls like a whisper, promising warmth and comfort to a family's table, and you're eager to see its impact ripple beyond this firelit moment. The kettle's success is no small thing. You watch as Way's wife steps closer, her eyes narrowing with cautious hope as she peers at the steaming vessel. The water inside bubbles gently, and you can almost taste the warmth it'll bring. Maybe a simple sip of hot water or an early herbal tea, soothing after a long day. The mainstream historical fact anchors this moment. Ceramic kettles from the Shang Dynasty, around 1600 BC, were pivotal for boiling water safely, as evidenced by spouted vessels found in archaeological sites like Anyang. These kettles weren't just for cooking. They made drinking water safer, reducing illness in a world where rivers could carry more than just fish. You imagine a family gathered around Way's kettle, their faces softened by firelight, sipping something warm for the first time without wrestling a wobbly pot. Here's a quirky tidbit. Some Shang kettles were buried with their owners, tucked into tombs like treasures for the afterlife. Imagine Way's kettle being packed for eternity, as if the dead needed a hot drink to face the spirits. Historians still argue whether these burial kettles were symbolic, meant for ritual offerings, or just practical tools the deceased couldn't bear to leave behind. Either way, you're watching Way's creation work its magic. His wife ladles a bit of the hot water into a clay cup, handing it to a child who sips cautiously, eyes wide with wonder. You smirk, thinking how your own attempts at boiling water, probably with a microwave, never felt this monumental. Kids probably thinking it's wizardry, you chuckle, picturing the awe of a world without instant coffee. The village feels transformed by this small act. You see neighbors gathering, drawn by the kettle's steam like moths to a flame. A man with a weathered face leans in, asking Way how he made it, his voice low but curious. You catch the pride in Way's nod, though he's too humble to brag. The kettle's not just a tool, it's a spark of connection, a reason for people to linger and talk. You hear a woman laugh nearby, probably joking about her own cracked pots, and you grin, thinking how even ancient gossip sounds familiar. The fire pops, sending a spark into the night, and you feel the warmth of this moment, not just from the flames, but from the shared hope Way's kettle brings. It's a reminder that small inventions can shift the rhythm of life. You glance at the yellow river, its dark waters barely visible now, reflecting the stars like a mirror. The river's been the village's lifeline, but Way's kettle is making it more, a source of warmth, not just survival. You imagine families across the village adopting this idea, their evenings softened by steaming cups. Bet they trade their best bronze for one of these, you muse, chuckling at how you'd swap your kettle for a working Wi-Fi signal some days.
The scene feels intimate, like you're part of a quiet revolution. Way's kettle glowing in the firelight is more than clay. It's a promise of easier nights, safer drinks, and moments of rest in a relentless world. As the night deepens, you sink into the moment, the village's sounds fading into a gentle hum. The fire's glow softens, its crackle a soothing lullaby. You can almost feel the warmth of the kettle's steam, the comfort of a hot drink in your hands. The stars above twinkle, slow and steady, like they're watching Way's work unfold. Your eyelids grow heavy, the cool earth beneath you a quiet anchor. The kettle's steam curls upward, blending with the night air, carrying the promise of warmth across time. You're ready to drift, the village's hum wrapping you like a blanket, as Way's creation glows on, a small flame lighting the way to sweeter dreams.
You let the village fade, its fires dimming into soft embers under a vast starry sky. The kettle's steam lingers in your mind, curling like a gentle whisper, promising warmth and rest. You're no longer in Way's workshop, but the feeling stays, safe, cozy, like sinking into a soft bed after a long day. The yellow river's gurgle becomes a distant song, blending with the night's quiet breath. Every sip from that ancient kettle, every moment of warmth it brought, feels like a gift carried through centuries, right to your own quiet corner. The stars above seem closer now, their light soft, guiding you to rest. Let the day slip away, let the fire's crackle fade, and drift into sleep, wrapped in the glow of a simple clay vessel.